Hey there. Hey, if you're loving the tips so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button right down there and then tap the little bell so that you never miss out on more free, cool tips coming your way. Also, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment beneath there. Let me know what you think or tell me what you'd like to hear next. But you'd never make a soup with just hot water, right? You got to put stuff in it.
Need ingredients.
You need ingredients. And I think the same thing with our mortgage business. It's like you need some ingredients in there. Frank, some of it's like the meat and potatoes type stuff. But Kevin, I often find it's the fine-tuned stuff. It's the spices that really make our business pop, that really we see these epic growths like you and I see sometimes.
Well, everyone's got meat and potatoes, Carl. That's the problem. But then that soup can get a little bland.
Yeah, I get it. So let's I'm gonna call an audible here. Let's talk about what could we call this? Let's talk about what loan officers might be missing and they don't even know it. Or what's the top five or six things that I have to have in my mortgage business to expect any level of, even modest success in 2025 coming up. Is that a good topic?
That's a great topic. I think it's an apropos topic, and I think that, as
Wait,
you
it's a what
know,
topic? It's a what topic?
apropos for the market.
Okay, you just use the
That
word.
stands for appropriate. It's like
Oh,
a
appropriate.
synonym of
Okay.
appropriate. It's apropos to discuss this topic because so many people are probably living with blind spots. And, we all
Mm,
have them. I don't care who you are. I've never met one person that doesn't have blind spots. And the problems with blind spots, obviously, is you can't see them yourself. And you need trusted advisors or coaches or friends or mentors, someone to point them out to you. And I think it's a great topic for today.
so what do you think? Like, what do you think the one thing that a loan officers are missing? And maybe these are in some sort of order, maybe they're not, because we're just kind of doing it on the fly here.
Yeah.
Like what? Like if you say, boy, the one that really kind of reaches out and says me first, the thing that's holding them back. What is that?
To me, it's team. And
Yeah.
if you think about that word for a moment, there's a problem in our industry, right? And I think we've all become privy to this problem. But what typically I see on a regular basis is many, many companies, and I'm not blaming or faulting the companies for this, but since, the meltdown basically of January of 22, when that began, what we saw is epic numbers of resources being stripped away from loan originators' businesses by the companies. And some of that was out of necessity. I'm not saying that they didn't do what we did, some of it too. Everyone did. But this resource reallocation problem is real for a loan officer. And so what it's produced now, and I hear this every week of my life, is a loan officer is doing maybe 2 or 3 closings a month who says, I need a assistant or I need a team or I need a loan partner or something. And then the company says, well, close 8 loans 3 months in a row and we'll talk about it. And that's
Yeah.
the old chicken and the egg thing, right? And it's a problem. The second problem with that is most great loan officers are not great at hiring, firing, training, mentoring, and the things required to build teams. What they're great at is sales. And there's a vastly different skill set mandatory to be great at sales versus at management. So there's this chasm in between these two, positions that are not easy to fill the void of. And the answer isn't telling some great salesperson to run an ad on Indeed, conduct 78 interviews of applicants, and then hire, manage, train, and mentor a loan partner. That's not really the answer as I see it. So team is important, but how you obtain the team is equally as important, and how that team is held accountable to certain SLAs, service level agreements, and what the commitments and the mandatory realities of those each teammate is. That's a big topic, but team is the overall word that I'm going to
You know,
start with.
man, I think you're onto something there. I would see two things kind of come to my mind when we talk about this. The first is that old adage, well, Kevin, if you want to do it right, you do it yourself, right?
Yep,
Which is kind of where how I was raised, in a
as
very,
many of us were. Yeah,
yeah, very modest income, non-entrepreneurial. Actually, oddly enough, my family is entrepreneurial, but they just they didn't know what's possible in life, I guess, is
Sure,
the best way
sure.
of saying it. And so so mom and dad, they had several different businesses that did okay, but no help. And I if you want it done right, you do it yourself. So I think first of all, we have to kind of overcome that mindset. Like nobody can talk to my customer, me. Yeah, but you don't understand, Kevin. They want to talk to me and all that, and getting through all that crap. But I think the biggest problem I think loan officers have when they have help. So that first issue is getting the mindset, dude, you need help. And of course, they'll talk to other people other than you. Like when you're
Right.
busy in the field, instead of hitting your voicemail, having somebody actually answer the phone is a real big plus. But I think the other thing is if I go hire my own people, I'm a great salesperson. I'm a horrible HR person. Like it's just not my skill set. It's a different skill set.
It's a
And
totally different skill set, and yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. So,
and so
so
if I go hire my own people, number one, it's going to likely, and that might not be the case for everybody, but I'm going to tell you, it's probably the case for at least 90%. And that's not a figurative number, that's a literal number, at least 90%. Because the problem is we tend to hire people we think we can fix, or we tend to hire people that we want to help. Because as a general rule, salespeople are nice people that like helping
correct.
people. And so
Well, and believe it or not, Carl, it takes us a learned skill, and I can prove that it's learnable. That might not be a word, but to work with someone properly, because, like you just referenced, when you have the mindset, I have to do everything myself. I've seen people hire loan partners and then look over their shoulder at every single thing they do, and they end up spending as many minutes not doing the item as they would have doing the item, and then it's just a cost that doesn't make sense. That's not the answer. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah,
and it does take a while to adapt that if you're not used to it. I had to adapt. I used to be a do everything myself guy,
yeah, yeah.
and
And
now I'm
when
not.
and when I go hire my own people, I tend to hire somebody that's not quite ready for the job, and then I've got to train them. And that period of time I'm training them, I'm not selling. So in the beginning, that person would actually hurt me, not help me. And then if they don't work out, let's say I work them for like 3, 4, 5 months, and I go, gosh, they're just not catching on. Now I got to go find another one, which takes another 3 months, train another one, which takes 3, 4, 5 months. I'm a year into it, no better off than what I was before. And having
There's
an
a
HR.
solution for that. You're right, but that is a definable issue in our industry. I've seen it happen countless times.
Yeah, I'd say more often than not. That's what
Yes,
happens by far more often than not. So I think for me, it's like finding or like hooking up, going to my branch manager or my district manager or the company owner, like whatever my situation is, and having them utilize the resources of their HR department to either A, find my person for me, or like in our case, already having that person already there working in the shop where you can plug into it. Cause like if you want to win the Daytona 500, you can either A, train a pit crew team, or B, use the pit crew team that won the Daytona 500 last year. And I don't have to train anybody. They're already up and going. So if at all possible, and if that's available, look within your own organization who's already there that I can tap into. Or like if loan officer, like let's say I'm in the, and I'm just going to make up some names here. I'm in the Tampa branch, and I find loan officer Lisa in the Birmingham, Alabama branch, that I can utilize some of her resources, some of her extra processors or loan partners. They don't have to be under the same roof.
correct,
In fact, we
correct.
found that works out just great. And so tapping into somebody that's already there or that's already trained, and not having to go find that person and train them. Because if you get the wrong person and you try to train them and they don't work out, then that crap enters our head. This didn't work. I'll go back just do it myself, which is just a colossal failure.
Correct. Without a
All right.
doubt. Without a
So
doubt.
team, what's another thing that you think the lack of might be hurting them?
I'd say, like, I don't know what the right word is, but maybe internal resources. Like, I'll give you an example. We have what we call the deal desk or a scenario desk, and ours is excellent. And I just know personally from talking to loan originators here at our place how beneficial it is to them, because the answers they get are all two things. One, they're accurate and true, and B, they're documented. And when they're documented, that goes immediately to the underwriter. So if that scenario becomes a real transaction, then what's been agreed to and told to the loan originator about whether like the income's allowable or whatnot has already been communicated to the underwriting team. So I think a good scenario desk, as minor as that might sound on the surface, if it's done properly, it can be an absolute asset to your business, to your practice of closing loans. And I think it's imperative that you have people. That's one source of an internal resource that really can make or break a deal. I literally was talking to someone yesterday at a company that will remain nameless, but they were told something and submitted a file. They literally thought they were getting a clear to close yesterday. They get a phone call yesterday saying, hey, we're viewing this in a different lens and we need to switch the program. We need to re-underwrite it. And we're kicking it back to the starting point. This lady thought she was getting a clear to close yesterday and closing this Thursday. There's zero chance, she told me, of a closing this Thursday. That's not even remotely close. And it is in jeopardy on whether or not the borrower's closing at all. And that's quite a blow to a loan originator who's under the belief that in 72 hours, you're going to be going to a purchase closing. And now you're calling the borrower saying that's a minimum of a week delay and possibly no approval at all. So it just, that kind of stuff sometimes gets minimized. And I think it should be maximized, because the best way to get a referral is what? To overperform for the people that you're working for. Yeah, both referral source and borrower, right? So
Yeah.
little things like that really matter.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the deal desk, not just as a second pair of eyes, but for me, I can I can spend 2 hours reading through the guidelines, making sure I've got it right, or I can spend 5 minutes talking with the deal desk. And when I talk to the deal desk, I find they say, "Well, Carl, wait, one thing you want to be careful of, make sure you have this documented for that situation."
Correct.
So number one, it keeps me from getting a gotcha, right? We
Yep.
don't like those gotchas. But more importantly for me, it frees up my time that I get the answer right now instead of having to research it myself. So now
Correct.
I can spend more of my time either A, prospecting, or B, frankly, getting off work on time so I can go,
Yep.
play a game of golf, go bike ride, and
Do
hang
your
out with the
family
lovely
stuff,
Mrs.
right?
White. Like, yeah,
Right.
whatever I want to. All right. So I like the deal. And, I'd throw in there kind of like you said, internal resources. One that's kind of in line with that is what we call our underwriter advocate. Why don't you explain what that is?
Yeah, here's what we do here. I'm sure other companies do this, or I would imagine they do. I don't know, but every day at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we have a short meeting. And that meeting's for any loan that any of the underwriters at our company were going to deny or suspend. And they have to run it by a quick set of three other eyes in case someone missed something. You know, Underwriters are people too, right? They're human beings. They might be looking at something improperly. They might missed something. And so we found that to be really, really beneficial. And again, some days there's zero files in that meeting, and some days there's three. But what's happened is someone might say, oh, you know what? What if you viewed this particular portion of that loan this way? And maybe a light bulb goes off, or an aha moment where someone says, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. So it just creates more yeses. And like, here at our place, on every single underwriter's desktop and laptop, it says find the yes, 3 words, find the yes. And that's the motto that they live by. And our mission is to find the yes 100 out of 100 times. Um, and that little 2 p.m. meeting really helps go towards that. And oftentimes we get a ton of turndowns from other places, Carl. And so that meeting helps in that too, because maybe this loan was denied at this bank or this place or what have you. And sometimes putting 2 or 3 sets of eyes on it just quickly allows us to see something. Oh, wait, yep, that makes sense. And so that's been really beneficial for us. But that's what I'm talking about. Internal resources is things such as that.
Yeah, 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 and some of the people listening to the podcast are familiar with the one that we use, which is Allison, which we affectionately call the Honey Badger,
She is
because
a honey
she's
badger. That lady will never give up. That
yeah,
lady's got one mission.
yeah. And if you know what a honey badger is uh they're like a pit bull with a ham bone. I mean,
Without a
they'll
doubt.
if there's a
Without
way
a
to
doubt.
get a yes out of this, she is just relentless. And then she'll call Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and VA. FHA. She'll call the platforms and get them to help clarify. Well, what do you mean by this? And it's just an outstanding thing. So I think, that helps close more loans, but probably at least as important to that, and maybe a little bit more, it helps me sustain those relationships or
Correct.
gain new relationships
Gain
because
new
I got
ones too.
I
Yeah.
got a yes. I think she's like in this number off the top of my head, if I remember right, she runs. I think she said the other day she has an 83% success rate of turning a no into a yes 83% of the time. And often I might need to be restructured, and then we end up going Freddie Mac instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Fannie Mae or whatever that is. But an 83% turn rate. And so when you're the one that comes and saves a day, people remember that, and it's a whole lot easier to get that second and third and fourth loan from that listing agent that didn't refer the deal to you in the first place, and they got said no by, I'm going to make up a name, Bank
Yeah. Yeah.
of Tom
ABC
Harbor
System.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, and then we get a yes. 83% of the time,
It's
that's
invaluable. And
that's
that there's a couple things there. It's knowledge and it's also caring, and different places have different risk tolerances and different places say no for certain reasons that aren't really guideline reasons, and we just take a different approach to that, so but that's a really great thing here. I know that, and I know a lot of people are very grateful and appreciative of she spearheads that whole mission
how
every day.
how long have y'all been doing that? Was that something like day one, or is that because
No, she started that, I think, about 5-ish years ago.
what a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been working. It's very good for us.
Let's do one more. Let's do so what's one more? We could say technology. That might actually warrant its own episode. Like, what technology
It's
should
too
you?
big of an item because on a short little podcast like this or conversation with you, that you're right, that's kind of a separate thing because it's really technology that works. A lot of folks can write a check for technology. The question really isn't who has what. It's how do you utilize that technology to turn it into future business, future relationships, and how does it ease the life of the loan officer? Those are the only three things that really matter when it comes to technology, right? Because you and I have both heard this 100 times. Oh yeah, my company's got all this stuff. I don't know how to use any of it. Well, what good is that?
Yeah.
How does that help a loan officer have a better life? It doesn't. And so yeah, I think maybe that one's a better topic for a longer episode or maybe an episode just on that. But suffice it to say, obviously, we're living in a different world today than we were even just a matter of 12 months ago, believe it or not. And some of the things that are available and some of the
Mhm.
things that the aggregators and the services are using, there's an all-out war going on, Carl, as you know, on whose customer is it. And if you're not utilizing proper technology to get in that game, you are going to work 30% harder to make 30% less in 2025. That's a fact. That's an
Hey,
indisputable fact.
so just when you say whose customer is this, explain what you mean by that.
Well, rightly so. Every loan originator on the planet that I know who obtains a client who needs to either buy a house or refinance their house believes that's their customer, correct?
Yeah.
But the world doesn't agree. It just doesn't. And so if you knew what some of the quotes from some of the richest people in our industry, people that are billionaires, I'm not talking
Mm,
about millionaires, I'm talking about billionaires, believe the truth around whose client that is. And there's
mm,
a fight to get to that client because they know a few things that are non-negotiable. And that is that the vast majority of people that obtained a mortgage in America last year got it from the person they spoke to first. And it's
mm,
not a small number, it's a massive number. The number that either got it from the first or second person that they spoke to is over 90%. And so if you don't think these rich, big people are trying to get to every customer first, you're just crazy.
mhm.
So when they're buying loans either through the wholesale channel or through the, independent banking channel or what have you, everyone's trying to get to the client. And where I think technology matters is what are you using that keeps you front and center with your database? Because your database would prefer to work with you, but they will work with the person that contacts them that has a good opportunity for them, even if it's not you. So there are ways to combat that certain companies are doing a great job with, and I've seen others that are missing the ball on this. So it's a really important topic, and it's something that can't be ignored. And in 2025, the importance of this topic will continue to escalate.
Yeah, I saw. I did an episode with Owen a week or two ago, and we talked about how the Owen called it the Freddy Krueger that's hiding in the bushes in our
Yeah.
business, and it's the servicers, and you can't blame them, right? You can't blame them that the servicers are retaining. I think he said something like 72% of all the refis. Like, and we'll pick on Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper, it was in their stock report, if I remember right, that they retained 72% of their refinances. So, in other words, those refinances that we got, the last 20 years,
Yeah.
that and the servicers, I think they retained, I think it was like in the low 20s, like 22, 23%.
Well, it's
And
all through technology that that number has risen so much. And it's not because the loan officer, the internal call center loan officer at Mr. Cooper's all of a sudden better today than he or she was 10 years ago. That's got nothing to do with it. In fact, it's probably not the greatest place in the world to get your mortgage if you're looking for an experience, right? But
yeah,
if they get there, so how all of a sudden do they go from low 20s to 72% retention? It's through a technology, not through a person. And that's what we have to be mindful of. And the cool news is that technology is available. It's cheap enough where it's available to small. Hell, I have it. And we're not, some big mammoth place. We're not billionaires, but we have the same darn product they have. It's just who's going to use it best, who's going
yeah.
to use it most frequently, who's going to be relentless about it, and we can win in this game equally or higher level than they can. That's what's the beauty of technology is. It's not reserved for the rich.
You know, I think it might kind of lead into the other things we were just talking about, that if I don't have a team, if I don't have a deal desk to save me so much time there, if I don't have an underwriter advocate that's turning my nose into yeses, I don't have the time to use the technology to get even more deals and to get all those refinances instead of Mr. Cooper getting them, which, good for him for trying that, right? But having the time to use my technology, if I'm not in, trying to chase the deals and doing everything myself, I've got time to utilize that stuff. Because I agree with you that you said something in the beginning that a lot of these people, they have technology, they just never turned it on. They got a Ferrari out in the parking lot and they just never turned the key on it because they're too busy doing the clutter stuff.
Well, and that kind of comes into another one that I think is important when you talk about things folks might be missing. And
Yeah.
again, it's a word I'm careful of, right? And that word is training,
Mm.
because every company I've ever heard of has training, right? Have you ever heard of one that says, I have no training
Yeah.
whatsoever? I've
No.
never
No.
heard anyone say that. The question is, what training? And that leads into like what you just said is really appropriate. Like, here's just the truth about many salespeople. It's easier to do the low leverage activities than the high leverage activities. And there's a sense of
Mm.
gratification of going home at 5:30 and saying I was busy. Okay, so let me explain that for a second. So if you don't have a great team, if you're not using real technology, if you don't have what you said, a deal desk and an underwriting advocate division and all that stuff, and if you're stuck in the Smith loan for 3 hours, then you go to some training that has nothing to do with you, and then you say you're going to learn this piece of technology, but you get sidetracked while you're learning it, and then that ends because something else popped out about a deal or a problem, and then it's 5 o'clock, and you say, "Oh, I'm busy today."
Mm.
That's like a trap that is very easy to fall into. And what I think that's the biggest demise of the North American loan officer, and why so many of them don't have the financial results that they entered into the industry thinking they could obtain. I think it's really at the crux that. And that's
Mhm.
why this stuff is important. Because if you had those things firing on all 8 cylinders in your business, and if you would discipline your mind to then reallocate your time invested in
Mm.
prospecting and creating, keeping, and growing a client only, that's when you see massive results. It's the only
Mm.
time you see massive results, on other than if we get a massive headwind from the industry, which isn't coming,
Yeah.
or tailwind from the industry. And I think we all know one's not coming tomorrow morning. So it's imperative. If 2025 is your year, I just spoke to the most focused loan originator on the planet, in my opinion, and she said, watch out. 2025 is my year, and you're going to see things you've never seen before out of me. And
Mm,
she had just had a 6-hour planning session in October with her team for 2025 with non-negotiables that are going to be fireable offenses if they're not met. And she's serious about it. And that kind of stuff is required for massive growth. If you want to close 10 loans, 20 loans every single month, you must, repeat, must with a capital M,
mm,
invest a minimum of 20 to 25 hours a week in client creation. And if you're unable to do that because of the lack of all these other things we just talked about, that's what kills people's income. You
mm,
and I have, what do we hear all the time? Roller coaster effect. You know, I closed 5 in March, but I had 0 in April. Yeah, because you don't have a business. You might have a career and maybe you have a job.
mm,
If you have a business, that's got to change.
mm. Wow, good stuff, man. Just to round it up, I know we're at the top of the hour here. Just to round it out, I just want to bring up one more thing,
Yeah,
and I don't know exactly what I'd call this. I think the word culture is overused.
it is.
Maybe I got one. I'll call it in my corner. In my corner.
That's a
And
good way to phrase it.
yeah, because here's what it is, man. It's like, and so Kevin, you and I partnered up probably 10 years ago, 11 years ago,
Well,
12 years ago. So, and you know what's made this work so well for me, at least, right? If I can think selfishly here, it's like, it's like we built a pretty big team here.
uh-huh.
And you've always had the attitude of, hey, Carl, what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? Uh, and that has been an absolute game changer. Like, and I got to make my case, right? So it's not always, just
Right.
being perfectly transparent. I don't come in here and go, well, I need new Rolls Royce in the driveway. And you go,
Right.
sure,
Right.
Carl,
Right.
here,
Right.
let me go
Right.
get that, right? So I have to, even though that's not a bad idea, and
Yeah.
Christmas bonuses are coming. So I'm just putting that out there. But no, but it's like I don't have to convince you that I need a team. I
Well,
don't
well,
have
and
to.
there's a couple of reasons why, and that's because our relationship is based on 3 things. And those 3 things are accountability, communication, and trust. That's what
Mm,
our relationship is based on. And so
mm,
when you have that, that's how you build a culture.
mm,
And like for instance, we have a belief, me, you, and a lot of other people here, that personal development matters and that folks can improve if they choose to. I'm not the same guy I was 10 years ago. I'm not even close. Neither are you.
mm,
And we believe in a concept of lifelong learning. I don't think I've made it every day. I'm the first one here every day for a reason. I'm the first car in this parking lot every single day, guaranteed for a reason. I come to work with the mindset that I'm broke today. That's just a belief I have. I'm not broke, thank God, but I come in thinking that I am because I think it changes how I act every day. So culture really is an overused word, but it's what is the culture? And ours, and I think where our relationship has worked so well is because it's others first. It's not about me. Nothing I do is about me. Nothing you do is about you. So when you ask and I say, do you need anything? If you say yes, my natural inclination is to get it for you, regardless of what the ask is, because you need it and I'm about you. Because I know
mm,
that our success is contingent upon everyone in our circle having what they need to achieve a predetermined result. And that's what a good culture is. It's a culture of others first, egos checked at the door every morning, and having an obligation to a commitment that's bigger than me. And when you
mm,
can find an environment like that, jump in it and don't leave, because that's what'll drive behaviors and it creates happiness, because money's nice and everyone needs it to fuel their life. But money's a byproduct of doing the right things. And when money's the only focus, that's when you get teams that don't have accountability, that don't have communication, that don't have trust. They fall apart
mm,
all the time. And then the culture becomes a negative. So it's really, really important. And again, this is way too long for this topic or for this
mm.
session, but I could go on for a long time about how important the right culture is versus the wrong one and what it means to someone's path in this industry.
Yeah, it's just like yeah, it's like I see this so often, like the loan officers trying to convince management uh that going from 4 loans to 8 loans, you've got to have help. You've got to have an assistant. You got to have a trained team. You just got to.
To
And
consistently do 8, yes, you can't do it
yeah,
every
yes,
month by yourself. You
consistently.
might pull it off once, but you're not
Yeah.
pulling it off every month.
Yeah, and just the yeah, just the gosh, I would say that's the number one thing of somebody closing, like approaching, say, like 4-ish loans a month, that somewhere around that point, boy, you just gotta have you gotta have somebody, to help you get to 8 or to help you get to 10. Otherwise, you're just gonna be stuck at that level all along, and not having to, convince somebody of the team, um, the benefit of having a team, even if it's a shared team, right? Maybe I might be sharing
Doesn't
like
matter
if
if it's shared, but like what you just said is the problem. If you have to convince
yeah,
someone that team matters, you got to
yeah,
really rethink, are
mhm,
you doing the right thing? Like, why do you have to convince them?
yeah,
That doesn't
yeah,
make, that's not, I know what happens every day. I think that's what's a huge problem in our industry.
yeah.
I
Right.
can't stand that part of our industry.
So I'm just going to review our list here. I think so. Number one, we agreed team. That probably we probably thought of that first for a reason, right? That's hard
Yes.
to beat. Number two, we did, what was it? Like a deal desk, or
Merit desk, deal desk, that type of thing.
yeah, underwriting advocate, like something like, somebody
Yeah.
somebody that I'm not spending 4 hours
Yeah.
in the guidelines.
Yeah.
Number
Technology
three,
that works.
technology that works, right? And using technology to help me close more loans in less time, so I can close more loans yet spend more time at home.
Yeah.
We talked about training,
Yeah, but
right?
it's very careful on training. If you have to mandatorily go to some training class on some program that you're never going to do once in your life, you got to be careful about training, right?
That's
It's a
true.
big word for, it can mean many things. So I
Yeah,
just say make sure you're training on the right things. But I love training. I train more than anyone, I think you know, but I
yeah,
try to make certain that it's only on things that are appropriate for the desired outcome I'm looking for.
yeah. I like that. And then the last one we talked about was where the team is working for the greater good. You know what it is, man? And you said it, and I didn't even realize you said it. It's understanding. So, dude, so for you, the borrower isn't the client, the realtor
Correct.
isn't client. For you, the loan officer is the client.
Correct. That's my client. Yes.
And for the loan officer, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the borrower isn't the client. The referral partner that referred that person is the client.
Correct.
And I think it's having that the culture of the loan officer is the engine of the machine.
Hmm.
Dude, if I so many times I get the old, well, dude, what can you, why don't you just go ask the underwriter about that? Well, I'm not allowed to talk to the underwriter. It's like, what is that, the queen? Like, is that the queen of the country? Like, who?
I still hear that, Carl. I thought that
What
was
is it?
only something 20 years ago you heard. I still hear it every week of my life. And I just shake my head on the other
Can't
end of the
talk to the
phone. I just
underwriter.
thank God I don't work there.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I thought that was pretty good. Hey, if you're listening to this and you think we've missed a couple things, boy, we'd love to hear back from you. You can give feedback. Where can you give feedback on this? Just go to loanofficerfreedom.com, loanofficerfreedom.com. That's another place wherever you're watching this. So if you're watching this on YouTube, put in the comments there in the YouTube. Like, let us know what you think about it, and tell us if we missed anything. If you're listening to this like on a podcast platform like iTunes or Slacker, if you go to loanofficerfreedom.com, there's a little comment section there with each episode. And I'd love to hear your feedback. Like, what do you think is the most important? Because frankly, I'd like to learn from you. Maybe because kind of the idea of this one, Kevin, is what are they missing out on that they might not know they're missing out on? So I'd like to know what you think that I might be missing out on. So would love your feedback on this. So loanofficerfreedom.com, and just give your feedback. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, just do a comment section there. Come to find out, Kevin, that see, I thought nobody. So we post these episodes a couple places, so on all the major
Right.
podcast platforms, and we also post it on YouTube. And come to find out, and I didn't even know this, there's the YouTube is really starting to grab some traction, and so apparently they've heard that you and I were devilishly handsome. Now they wanted to come see it firsthand, and so there you go. So
Well,
YouTube is
everyone else
actually.
tells me I have a face for radio, not for the camera, but that's all right. I'll just keep plugging away over here in my little corner of the world.
Yeah, I always just thought the Zoom was the easiest way to record this because if I can see you, I can have a better conversation. But come to find out, people actually watch this thing. So
Good,
go
good.
go,
Well,
go
hey,
figure.
and like you know, and your whole life's mission for 24 years has been to help loan officers have a better life. That's it, right? Nothing more, nothing less. And that's really my mission too. It's where I get my professional enjoyment is just helping someone have a better life. And you know, I'm just grateful that you exist and that our friendship exists and you have this platform to help people have a better business, hence a better life. It's
Hey,
meaningful, and I appreciate you.
you want to hear a cool number?
Yeah.
I just got this morning.
Okay.
So as you and I are recording this, this is October of 2024.
Yes, it is.
So here in about 60 days, I'm gonna have my 25th anniversary of helping loan officers, 25 years, right? Well, get this. So our official count is we've had the paying clients, like loan officer clients, helping them
Yep.
close more loans with less headaches.
Yep.
21,274 loan officers that have this doesn't count the podcast, of course, or loan
Right.
officer,
Right.
but
Right.
just like paying clients, 21,274 different. So that's not like one person 10 times, like
Yeah.
21,274 individual loan officers that have been
God
our
bless you.
clients.
Well,
So
you've done.
isn't
I
that
know you don't
cool?
like compliments, and I know you don't like a pat on the back, but you've done an incredible job. And I'm living proof. My life from 12 years ago to today has improved 100-fold, and it's literally because, like, I know that people ask me this all the time. You know, how'd you get successful? And it's like, you want to know the real answer? You made me do that Acts of Freedom in
Mm,
2012. I never even heard those words before. And that exercise changed my whole life. And I know
mm,
I've told you 1,000 times how grateful I am for that, but that was
mm,
something you didn't barely know me. You didn't know anything about me, and you helped me through that. And that
mm.
right there changed my entire existence. And it led me to a decade of fruitfulness and of joy and of happiness and of prosperity. And it just that one thing was the number one catalyst for me. So I'm sure you have 21,000 other stories like that, but I'm one of them. So
Well, thank you, brother. That means a lot. Yeah, I thought 21. That's pretty cool, man. I must say, I'm not much one for spiking the ball, but that's
spike it. You've earned the right.
that's really cool. It's been nice. So anyway, hey man, hey, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for everything you do. I love
Right
working
back
with
at
you,
you.
and
We'll talk
yeah,
soon.
thanks for being here. Hey,
All
and you
right.
know what? I don't even know if I introduced you at the beginning. So anyway, this episode was with one of my partners here in the mortgage business, Kevin Broughton. So Kevin, I love you, man. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Right back at you. Thanks so much.